Presidential hopeful Mitt Romney came under attack at this weekend's GOP debates when rival Newt Gingrich criticized what he called the predatory practices of Bain Capital, the company Romney co-founded. Reuters Washington correspondent Andy Sullivan joins us now with more. Well, Andy, you wrote a story about a Kansas City steel mill that goes to the heart of the controversy surrounding Mitt Romney's years at Bain Capital. Tell us briefly what you found.
Hey, Fred. Well, me and our private equity correspondent, Greg Rumliotis, took a real close look at one of the deals that Bain did. It was a steel mill in Kansas City that Bain came in and bought in the early 1990s. One of the first things they did was issue $125 million in bonds. These are pretty high-interest bonds at around 12%. They used some of that money to invest in improvements in the mill, and they used the rest to pay themselves out pretty quickly. They got a $65 million dividend. They issued some more debt after that, and then they merged the company with another one. Now, company executives that we talked to, as well as workers and union officials and outside analysts, said that this was sort of a lot of debt to pile onto this company. And when the industry hit hard times at the end of the decade, it wasn't really in a good position to ride out the storm. I spoke with a lot with steel workers who really sort of got worked over by this as well, because the company closed down that mill, and these guys were promised things like, extra pension and health care benefits and severance and stuff in the event of a mill closure. But by declaring bankruptcy, they were able to shed those obligations and dump the pension onto the government. A lot of these guys are left in pretty rough shape.
And you mentioned the debt and also the big dividend. The knock on Romney, coming from his GOP rivals, is that Bain and its investors profited at the expense of small businesses and employees. Based on what you found, was this true in this instance?
Yeah, it certainly is in this instance. The Romney campaign points to a lot of other examples where Bain did really well by their companies. They point to success stories like the Sports Authority and Staples to say, like, hey, we created a lot of jobs. And Romney himself argues that, like, you don't win everything in capitalism. You win some and you lose some, but the important thing is to be investing and making those sort of risky moves.
Well, Andy, it looks as though this is now taking a life of its own on the trail. Gingrich has been going after Romney on this front relentlessly. So let's hear what he had to say at this weekend's debate.
You would certainly have to say that Bain at times engaged in behavior where they looted a company, leaving behind 1,700 unemployed people. That's the New York Times. That's not me.
Actually, to correct Newt, that was a report by Reuters, by us. And right now, we've got a super PAC supporting Gingrich. It's releasing a movie about his time at Bain. Will all this slow down Romney's momentum in New Hampshire or in the next battleground of South Carolina?
That remains to be seen, obviously. I mean, the New Hampshire primary contest is tomorrow, and so I imagine if this thing is going to have an effect, it might take a little bit longer than that. But they've got a week and a half after that until the South Carolina primary takes place, and one of the underwriters of Gingrich's super PAC has promised to put $5 million towards that. That can buy a lot of airtime in South Carolina.
Right, that money coming from Sheldon Adelson. Now, Andy, does the Romney campaign have an effective strategy to deal with these attacks? Are they worried?
Well, I think Governor Romney has said all along that, you win some and you lose some, and that he knows more about the business world than somebody like Speaker Gingrich, who has really made his career in Washington. He's really basing his entire campaign this time around on the fact that he's a businessman, a conservative businessman who knows how the economy works. And he's better positioned than somebody like Gingrich, who has spent his career in Washington, to tackle this. So he's not backing away from it at all.
In a strange way, it seems as though some of the arguments made by Romney's rivals almost echo sort of what you might hear from the Democrats, whether it's about corporate raiders or it's about workers who have others who have profited at the expense of workers.
That's right, Fred. The Democratic National Committee has been going pretty heavily against Romney for months now on this theme, and I imagine the Obama campaign will as well. I think it's sort of surprising that you haven't seen Republican rivals go after him on that until now, probably because their general ideology lines up a lot more with these free market ideas that Romney espouses. But if you're Newt Gingrich and you're seeing that you maybe have a few more contests where you have to score a victory or else you're out of the race, he's probably made the calculation that he should go for it.
All right, well, thanks for the story and thanks for the analysis. Our thanks to Reuters' Andy Sullivan. I'm Fred Katayama, and this is Reuters.